What if I told you that giving Einstein a smartphone wouldn't make him smarter? It would completely destroy modern physics as we know it. You think handing the greatest mind in history our most advanced technology would accelerate human progress by decades, but the reality is far more terrifying than you could imagine. Picture this. It's 1905. Einstein is working as a patent clerk in Switzerland, scribbling equations that will revolutionize our understanding of space and time. Now imagine a time traveler appears and hands him an iPhone 15. Not just the device, but full knowledge of how to use it, complete with internet access to our entire digital civilization. Sounds like the ultimate cheat code for human advancement, right? Einstein could skip decades of research, access quantum mechanics theories, browse through solutions to problems he hadn't even discovered yet. But here's where it gets interesting. This seemingly heroic act would create a cascade of consequences that could unravel the very fabric of scientific progress and possibly reality itself. The immediate consequences: information overload paradox. Einstein's first reaction wouldn't be wonder, it would be devastation. Here's what you didn't consider. Einstein's revolutionary theories came from his unique ability to question fundamental assumptions. When he developed special relativity, he started from the radical premise that the speed of light was constant. This wasn't just mathematical brilliance. It was philosophical courage to challenge Newton's absolute space and time. But with a smartphone, Einstein would immediately see that future scientists had already solved these problems. He'd discovered general relativity, quantum mechanics, the Standard Model, all laid out in Wikipedia articles and YouTube videos. The creative struggle that produced his insights would be completely bypassed. Instead of the patient, methodical genius who spent years wrestling with the implications of moving reference frames, we'd have someone copy-pasting solutions from the future. The real problem isn't what you'd expect. It's not that Einstein would become lazy. It's that he'd lose the one thing that made him Einstein: his willingness to be wrong, to struggle, to develop intuition through failure. The ripple effects. The collaboration collapse. Here's where things get truly terrifying. Einstein's genius wasn't just individual, it was collaborative. His debates with Niels Bohr, his correspondence with other physicists, the community of minds wrestling with quantum mechanics together, all of that would vanish overnight. With smartphone access, Einstein would know that Bohr was wrong about quantum interpretation decades before their famous debates even began. He'd see that EPR paradox experiments would eventually validate his spooky action at a distance concerns through Bell's theorem. The rich ecosystem of scientific discourse, where brilliant minds build on each other's work and challenge each other's assumptions, would collapse into a one-sided conversation with the future. But the most disturbing possibility is this: Einstein would discover that many of his later attempts at a unified field theory were failures. He spent the last 30 years of his life searching for a theory of everything, driven by an unshakable belief that God does not play dice with the universe. With a smartphone, he'd learn that quantum mechanics' probabilistic nature isn't a placeholder for a deeper deterministic theory. It's fundamental to reality itself. This knowledge wouldn't liberate him. It would crush him. The Einstein who revolutionized physics was fueled by certainty that there must be deeper, more elegant truths. Remove that certainty, show him the messy, incomplete state of modern physics, and you don't accelerate his genius, you paralyze it. The paradoxes and complications, the bootstrap problem. Now we enter truly mind-bending territory. If Einstein uses information from the smartphone to publish theories decades early, where did those theories originally come from? This is the bootstrap paradox: information appearing from nowhere with no original source. Consider general relativity. In our timeline, Einstein developed it through years of thought experiments about falling elevators and curved spacetime. But with a smartphone, he'd simply read about tensors and Riemannian geometry, copy the field equations, and publish in 1906 instead of 1915. The theory would exist, but its intellectual ancestry would be completely severed. This creates what physicists call a causal loop. The smartphone contains knowledge that exists because Einstein originally developed it without a smartphone. But now Einstein develops it because of the smartphone. The information exists because it exists, a perfect circle with no beginning. But here's what makes this truly terrifying. If enough theories become bootstrap paradoxes, We lose the ability to distinguish between correct physics and elaborate fiction. How do we know Einstein's smartphone-accelerated theories describe reality rather than some alternative universe's physics that somehow leaked through temporal mechanics? The darkest timeline. The innovation apocalypse, the worst-case scenario, isn't nuclear war or technological stagnation. It's the death of human curiosity itself. With Einstein publishing smartphone-derived theories in 1905, the entire trajectory of 20th century physics changes. Quantum mechanics arrives decades early, but without the intellectual struggle that gave us the Copenhagen interpretation, many worlds theory, or the philosophical frameworks that help us understand these concepts. Scientists become archaeological excavators rather than explorers. Instead of pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, they'd spend their careers reverse engineering technologies and theories that appeared mysteriously advanced. The space program wouldn't be driven by Kennedy's moon challenge, but by someone trying to figure out how GPS satellites work without understanding relativity. The most chilling possibility: we'd create a civilization technologically advanced but intellectually hollow. Imagine having quantum computers without understanding quantum mechanics, nuclear power without grasping atomic structure, GPS navigation without comprehending space-time curvature. We'd be users of technologies we never truly invented, forever dependent on gifts from our own temporal interference. This is where things get existentially disturbing. What happens when this technologically advanced but intellectually stunted civilization encounters problems not solved by Einstein's smartphone? Climate change, asteroid impacts, social collapse, issues requiring genuine innovation rather than reverse engineering. We'd be like a civilization that inherited fire but never learned to make it, helpless when the torch finally goes out. The butterfly effects, cascading consequences, but we're not done. Einstein's smartphone doesn't just change physics, it transforms everything. With general relativity published in 1905, nuclear weapons arrive by 1920. World War I becomes the first nuclear conflict. The Manhattan Project happens in German universities under Kaiser Wilhelm II instead of American labs under Roosevelt. Social media platforms from the smartphone completely reshape human communication decades early. Instead of the gradual evolution from telegraph to telephone to internet, society faces an instant leap to global connectivity. Victorian-era minds suddenly confronted with Twitter, TikTok, and Wikipedia. The psychological and social trauma would be unprecedented. Religious institutions face an immediate crisis when Einstein's smartphone reveals cosmological discoveries like the Big Bang, cosmic microwave background, and the multiverse hypothesis. Instead of the gradual accommodation between science and religion that occurred throughout the 20th century, there's a sudden, traumatic revelation that the universe is both far stranger and far less human-centered than anyone imagined. Even worse, the smartphone contains information about every major historical event from 1905 to 2024. Einstein could prevent World War I, warn about the Spanish flu, stop the Holocaust before it begins. But each intervention creates new branching timelines, new catastrophes, new butterfly effects rippling through decades of alternate history. What started as giving a genius a smartphone becomes an accidental dictatorship over the entire future of human civilization. So here we are, contemplating the ultimate question: is knowledge always good? We assume that giving Einstein a smartphone would create a better timeline, but we've seen how it might destroy the very foundations of human intellectual progress. The smartphone doesn't just accelerate Einstein's work, it fundamentally changes what it means to discover, to struggle with ideas, to build knowledge through collaborative human effort. Maybe the most profound truth is that our greatest achievements come not from having access to all information, but from the courage to wrestle with problems when we don't have the answers. Einstein's genius wasn't just his brilliant mind. It was his willingness to spend years uncertain, questioning everything, building new understanding from the ground up. The next time someone says they wish they could go back and give historical figures modern technology, remember Einstein's smartphone. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give the past is letting it discover the future on its own timeline, through its own struggles, with all the messy, uncertain, beautifully human process of actual discovery. What do you think? Would you still give Einstein that smartphone knowing what we know now? And if time travel were possible, what would you be brave enough to leave unchanged?